Bob Lamb here. A great friend of mine and I used to have so many great times playing baseball and softball, and he passed away last week. And he was a dear friend. Jim Shimshak and I had a lot of fun together way back in the 60s and early 70s. And Shimmy not only was a great friend, he was somebody you could lean on all the time for anything, day or night. And Jim was just a pillar of a man in the Holman community, at Hardy's Creek Lutheran Church in Ettrick, and just a staunch person in politics and religion. Jimmy always said faith, family, and friends, and he had a ton of friends. Jimmy passed away on March 8th at the Tomah VA Hospital in Tomah. He was 86. I'm 77. But Jimmy was born on December 7th, 1937 in La Crosse. And he grew up on in the Adams Street neighborhood, right across from Shimshak's Tavern, right in the alley, out the back door there. And he was baptized a member of Holy Trinity Catholic Church. After graduating from Aquinas High School in 1957, he went into the Navy and served aboard submarines. He later came back, and on June 22, 1968, Jim married Wanda Byam at Hardy's Creek Lutheran Church in Ettrick, and they started their family together in northern Wisconsin. Jimmy was a school teacher, and the place he started at was Radisson, up by Coudray and that. And I went up and visited Jim and Wanda. Wanda's just a super person too. Their first child was Jeremiah. He was born in 1969. Jeremiah and I worked at the La Crosse Tribune for several years. Then they moved to Holman in 1972, and their daughter Wendy was born a year later. What I really got to know Jim is when I was just out of high school. I graduated from Onalaska High School in 1964, and I started playing baseball and softball for many teams in the La Crosse area. Jim played baseball and was a catcher for several pass pitch softball league teams, including Handy Builders. They were a great team. And Keg Bar. Handy Builders was a 1972 Classic League champions and played in the 1977 World Softball Championships in Phoenix, Arizona. That's when Jimmy played with the Keg Bar. But Jim and I played for Genoa Johnnies in the old Tri-State League, and his brother-in-law, Roger Beck, was kind of the co-manager with his brother, Kenny Beck. And we had a great time all those years. I played 3-4 years, and Jimmy we had so many good times. And on February 20th, Jimmy was in bad shape. And Tom Beck, Roger Beck's son, oldest son, called me and said he talked to Jimmy, and Jimmy said, I really want to have Bob Lamb and your dad Roger come up and we can meet one last time and kind of reminisce about all our old softball and baseball memories. So Tommy picked me up, and Roger, his dad, and I went up and saw Jimmy on February 20th. It was very, very emotional. I remember when we got ready to leave, after telling many stories, some true, some embellished quite a bit. But we had a great time, and when we got ready to leave, because Jim was getting very tired, Jim said, he looked at me and he said, can the three of us just pray together? And Roger and I said, absolutely. So Jimmy and Roger and I joined hands, and I said a prayer. The three of us bowed our heads, closed our eyes, and when I finished with the prayer, we all said, Amen. It was very, very emotional for all three of us. I'll tell you, Jim Shimshak is going to be missed, but he's so loved by everyone that he left behind. Jimmy had so many times about his cabin that he helped build. Maybe he built the whole thing, I don't know. But his deer hunting cabin, he talked about his times praying with the Lord. He talked about a lot of things. And because he was 9 years older than I was, Jimmy I regarded him as a second father. He was that good. And he was so consoling, strict, but he was honest, truthful, and he'd tell me when I did well. He told me when I didn't do very good. But we had a lot of great times together, and I'll always remember Jim. And Jimmy left me every time when he dropped me off after baseball or softball games. He'd always say, remember, America is the greatest country in the world. In today's world, people don't do that enough. Jimmy, rest in peace, my dear friend.